Hello, everyone. I'm Tom Loftus, Senior Investment Analyst at PlanPiolet, and joining me this afternoon is Catherine Farrell of T. Rowe Price. We're going to be discussing target date funds at a high level. Thank you for joining us, Catherine. If you wouldn't mind, before we get into questions, could you provide a brief overview of yourself and your role at T. Rowe Price?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Tom, and good afternoon. My name is Catherine Farrell, and I'm a multi-asset portfolio specialist at T. Rowe Price. My role is to sit with our target date portfolio managers and also spend time in the field with clients and advisors, hearing what they're seeing in the industry.
For the average plan participant who might not have a really good understanding of what a target date fund is, could you give a high-level overview of how a target date fund works and what a glide path is?
A target date is a portfolio of other investments, typically stocks and bonds, and it serves as a one-stop shop for investors that are typically saving for retirement. The nice part about a target date fund is that it changes its asset allocation over time. So when you're a younger investor, the glide path typically has more equity, and as you get closer to retirement, it decreases its equity exposure. So in effect, it's doing the asset allocation for investors.
Thank you for that high-level overview. So specific to T. Rowe Price's target date funds, what factors or criteria do you deem to be most critical to incorporate into your glide path construction?
When we're thinking about glide path design or the level of equity exposure over time, we believe in designing towards the two primary objectives of plan sponsors. The first is supporting the need for lifetime income, and the second is managing balance variability or limiting the volatility of returns. And those are two competing objectives. The equity level and how high it is will drive outcomes over the long term. And you can think of having a higher level of equity will help support the need for lifetime income as equity returns compound over time. The trade-off is that comes with more volatility. To decrease volatility, you can pull down the level of equity, but the trade-off would be a potentially lower level of income. Our target date glide paths don't guarantee either outcome, but those are the considerations we make at the start. We also consider participant behavior or demographics, such as savings rates and salaries, as well as time preference, or whether the goal is to have income throughout an entire lifespan or all the years past retirement, or to really focus on the years right around retirement. And finally, we do this all with a risk in mind, where we think carefully about managing risk in terms of risk tolerance of participants, as well as different investment risks, such as longevity risk or market risk.
So there's a lot of debate today in more traditional asset classes of active versus passive management. How do you think that translates to the target date fund space? And do you see any distinct pros and cons of taking an active versus totally indexed versus a blended approach to target date investing?
All target date managers make active decisions. When they're deciding how much equity to have along their glide path, that's an active decision. When they're thinking about the diversification in terms of the building blocks in the glide path, that's an active decision. And when it comes down to implementation, or active and passive or the mix, that's where there's a trade-off between active management and passive, where active management gives you the ability to potentially add to excess returns over time, and those can compound and meaningfully drive outcomes over the long term. In addition, active management can give increased diversification that you wouldn't be able to achieve effectively from passive management. Passive management, on the other side, can reduce tracking error against a benchmark, as well as lower costs.
So you've spoken a bit to the T. Rowe Price glide path and the construction of that glide path. At a higher level, what factor or factors do you believe provide the strongest competitive advantage of your target date funds versus peers?
There are four aspects of our design that help us stand out relative to competitors. First is our glide path, which I touched on previously. That, again, is going to be the biggest driver of outcomes over the long term. Second is diversification. We believe in being broadly diversified across asset classes. That gives us the ability to improve returns and also mitigate risk by diversifying across different sectors of the market. Third is tactical management. Not every target date provider makes tactical adjustments, but as a global investment manager, T. Rowe Price has views into different asset classes. And we can harness that knowledge to not only improve returns, but also to mitigate risk. Last but not least is our active management. We access underlying actively managed T. Rowe Price strategies that also have the potential to improve returns and to mitigate risk, And over the long term, the excess return you can get from active management can potentially significantly improve outcomes.
So there's been a lot of buzz recently around ESG, or environmental, social, and governance principles impacting portfolio management and investing. How do you see that translating into target date funds, if at all?
Environmental, social, and governance factors are an important part of our investment process. We believe when we're researching stocks and bonds that there are factors that can drive performance meaningfully based on those factors. And our portfolio managers and analysts use those factors to help them look at the outcomes of those securities over the long term or their investment time horizon. All of that work that's done at the underlying fund level help contribute to target date outcomes as we tap into those underlying portfolios to build up our own target date series.
Another topic that's generated a lot of buzz, retirement income. How do you see where we are today versus a future outlook for incorporating some type of guaranteed retirement income into a target date fund series?
Retirement income is really the next frontier in target date funds. While today there aren't many target date providers that utilize a retirement income product such as an annuity, that could change in the future. At T. Rowe Price, we're looking at different strategies that could be embedded within a target date fund or offered separately as a standalone option within a retirement plan. It's really going to be up to the participant to decide what's the best option for them based on their individual circumstances. But we see a range of opportunities to launch solutions to meet different needs and potentially have a menu of options available within a retirement plan.
Catherine, we appreciate your time this afternoon. Thank you for coming out and sharing some valuable insight.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And for those of you in the audience who may be interested in learning more about target date funds, please do not hesitate to reach out to PlanPiolet, and we can certainly be of assistance.